Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the process where we're going to be getting buckets for the December 3rd, 2016 NBA slate. My name is Stephen Porter. You can follow me on Twitter at Stephen Porter Jr. Let's dive right in. We've got an 8-game Saturday night slate here. Hopefully, we can get a leg up on anyone that is playing and not really paying a whole lot of attention. So the first game that we need to cover is going to be the Phoenix Suns traveling to visit the Golden State Warriors. Warriors are 16.5-point favorites here. Total is 228.5. I'm having a tough time trusting any of these guys in cash. I feel like Golden State should score a ton of points. We know that Phoenix is playing one of the most fantasy-friendly games. Both of these teams are over 103 pace. Phoenix is actually getting a little better on the defensive end. I definitely like them more with Tyson Chandler in the lineup on D, but I just don't see how Phoenix is going to compete here. Phoenix did play them tough earlier in the year, but I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case in this matchup. Not really into any of these guys for cash. I think if you want to play Steph or Kevin Durant, you have to bring them back in tournaments with somebody from Phoenix. I guess Eric Bledsoe, and Devin Booker are the two main candidates for a game stack here. But you never know if Brandon Knight's going to get hot off the bench. Phoenix is awesome to target, but tough to play because the rotations are so up and down. I've made a couple game stacks with all four of the Golden State guys, and then Bledsoe and Booker, just because this game could have a ton of points if Phoenix can manage to keep it close, but I just don't feel comfortable enough rostering any of these guys in cash given some of the other values that we have on the slate. I'm going to move on to the next game. This game is a little easier to target. We've got the Miami Heat on the road at the Portland Trail Blazers. Blazers are 6.5-point favorites. Total here is 214. Portland is the worst defensive team in terms of efficiency this year, giving up 110.4 points per possession. We saw Miami get over offensively against Utah in the last game, even though they were a little banged up. But definitely like them to come back and produce again in this spot. This should be a very serious pace up game for Miami. Portland's playing at about 101 possessions per 48 minutes, while the Miami guys played around 88 to 90 pace against Utah in the last game. Would expect them to come up maybe into the 98 to 100 range in this game, which I think gives them that much more value on this slate. And of course, we just talked about how Portland is terrible defensively. So they should see a bunch of possessions, see efficiency with their possessions. And with all of the injuries and guys out, we know where the usage is going to be. It's going to be Goran Dragic, it's going to be Hassan Whiteside, it's going to be James Johnson, and it's going to be Tyler Johnson. I think all four of these guys are legitimate cash and or tournament targets. I love James Johnson's price on both sites. Saw about a 24% usage rate last game. I think it's reasonable to expect 25 to 30 minutes in this game. I think he matches up really well with Mo Harkless, who's going to play a ton of minutes on the other side for Portland. So I think his minutes will be up here. I think he stands to see efficiency and volume. Love him as a cash or tournament play. Hassan Whiteside is back up to 9K on Draftkings. I was kind of hoping he would stay pretty cheap, but this is about as good of a matchup as Hassan's going to get with the pace up. Should see plenty of minutes, assuming he can stay away from foul trouble, and it's not like Mason Plumlee is a guy that's drawing a ton of fouls. Maybe a little bit concerned with Damian Lillard and CJ attacking the rim, but I'm not really going to let that sway me from using Hassan tonight. I think Hassan's a cash and tournament target at 9K. Has a really, really nice ceiling in this game. Portland's terrible on the boards, 48.2% rebounding rate. One of the poorest teams on the glass, so we can definitely target them with Hassan. Struggled to get over in his matchup with Rudy Gobert last game, but again, this is pace up, much easier individual matchup, and just in general a poor team on the glass. I think Dragic could be looking to dump him the ball or toss it up to him for lobs pretty often in this game, and I think Hassan could definitely get onto the offensive glass and get a couple shots up that way. I think he's got legitimate 20-20 with some blocks upside. Love playing him in cash or tournaments. If I can find the salary, he's definitely going to be my cash center on Draftkings tonight. Love Goran Dragic just as much. Really nice price point. Hard to see him getting anything less than like 35 Draftkings points here, and I think he's got ceiling for 50 plus. Same kind of thing. If I can find the salary, he's probably going to be in my cash lineup on DraftKings. Tyler Johnson, if you'd want to save a little bit of salary and go there, still think he's a reasonable tournament target and cash target. I think he could go anywhere between 25 and 40 DraftKings points here. Only needs 30 to get you there. I think that's a reasonable expectation. So all four of those guys I'm pretty into tonight. Derek Williams should be back in this game. Don't want to play him at all. Luke Babbitt's out. Don't think that does a whole lot other than maybe give James Johnson a couple extra minutes at the 3-4. So I think all four of those guys are awesome plays in this matchup. I think the game stays close. I think it's got a really strong probability of going over the total here. I could see like 120 to 115 kind of game here. This is definitely, I think, the game to target on the night because we have to worry about the blowout risk in Phoenix and Golden State. So liking all four of the Phoenix guys, I definitely want to bring it back with somebody from Portland's side. I think Damian Lillard's going to go a little bit under the radar today. I think he's an awesome tournament target because his ownership is probably going to be a little lower than it should be given the game that he's going to play in here. I would expect Portland to win. I think Damian's going to have to close the game out. Should see his normal 30% usage rate. Not too scared about Miami defensively. Being so banged up, I think they're going to struggle a little bit. They struggled against Utah. Utah's a really efficient offensive team, but so is Portland. So I don't have any concerns about Portland's guys in this game. I think Damian is certainly cash playable. The only thing is I think there's better value at the point guard spot than there are other spots, so probably won't end up on him, but definitely going to need some ownership in tournaments. CJ McCollum is very attractive on both sides. It's only 7K on DraftKings, and shooting guard's kind of tough to fill if you're not going to use Jimmy Butler there. I think CJ should have like a 35 DraftKings point floor in this matchup and upside for 50 to 55. I think he's a really strong cash for tournament target, a guy that's a little easier to fit onto rosters. Not sure if I'll be going there, but I have no issue with him. I think Mo Harkless and Plumlee are both interesting, kind of same thing that I'm seeing with most of these Portland guys. Is the price is a little high, and there's a little bit more value, I think, on the slate, but I think that they should definitely see offensive efficiency tonight, and the game should stay close to the minutes, and the volume should be there. I think they're all strong targets, cash or tournaments. Just not sure I'll be going there. Mason Plumlee's price has come up a little bit too much for me. I mean, I like him in general. Don't mind the matchup with Hassan. I mean, Hassan can kind of be had on the offensive end with him kind of block hunting and then leaving the rim unprotected. But I'm just, I like them, but I'm not sure that they're the strongest points per dollar plays for cash games. I think if anybody is going to make it onto my cash roster, it's probably going to be CJ McCollum because he is shooting guard eligible and only 7K, and should see his 25 to 28 usage with mid to upper 30s minutes that he normally sees. You could play Evan Turner. He's played well off the bench, seeing really good usage, but I never play Evan Turner. That's just not a play that I'm going to make. He's not exactly team get buckets. So I'm going to move on to the next game. We've got the Minnesota Timberwolves traveling to visit the Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte is 6.5 point favorites here. Total's 209. Kemba is really, really cheap on DraftKings. He's only 7.4K. Not too worried about the matchup with Rubio or Tyus Jones, who's been playing the fourth quarters in most cases. Only thing you really worry about is Charlotte running away with this game because Minnesota is playing very, very poorly lately. Just not getting it done in any facet. But assuming that Kemba has to play 36 to 38 minutes, he should see his normal 30 usage rate. He's a really, really strong cash and/or tournament target on DraftKings, and I think he might go a little overlooked in this spot. So ownership's probably gonna be down. Ceiling's definitely there. Price is low. Kemba is a really strong tournament target. No problem with playing him in cash either. Kind of same thing with Nick Batum. Usage is always up and down, but I think he's got a solid floor here. Could see usage around. He's usually around 20. Wouldn't kind of project him any higher or lower today, but he produces in every category. So he certainly has the ability to get you there. Probably not going to be owned in tournaments. If you wanted to bring them back, I think you could play both Kemba and Batum, and then maybe bring them back with Wiggins or Karl Anthony Towns on the other side. Only other guy I'm really looking at from Charlotte is going to be Jeremy Lamb. Sees usage anywhere from 20 to 30 on any given night. Is really the guy that's going to come off the bench and take all of the shots. He's only 4K on DraftKings, and he's shooting guard and small forward eligible. Not sure he's the strongest cash play because we'll get to another guy later in that same kind of price point, which I think we can project for similar usage and higher minutes. But I think Lamb is definitely interesting in tournaments, and if you just really wanted to go there in cash, I guess you could do it. Again, not interested in anybody else off the Charlotte side. I could see playing Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. I don't want to play any of the big guys. Just too kind of inconsistent there for me. Onto the other side of the ball. Not in love with any of these guys because, again, like I said, they've been playing really poorly. Charlotte's a pretty good defensive team, 101.2 defensive rating on the year. If I think anybody can give you a ceiling kind of game here, I think it might be Andrew Wiggins. His usage has been really low lately. Think this could be a spot where they look to get him a little more involved again. Dumping the ball to Karl Anthony Towns did not work at all last game. He was terrible. Put into like a negative 35 net rating, I think. So hopefully, and Wiggins only saw like a 20 to kind of 23, 25 usage rate the last couple of games where Karl Anthony Towns has been the focal point of the offense. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Wiggins kind of trend up back towards his 30 usage rate that he's been seeing for most of the season. So if I think anybody's going to kind of give you a fantasy viable game for Minnesota, it'd be Wiggins. So I think you could play Kemba, Batum, and then bring it back with Wiggins and be kind of set if this game should stay close. Karl Anthony Towns would be the next guy to target. Charlotte pretty weak at the rim. Don't mind targeting them with a center, and people are probably going to be off Karl Anthony after the last game. I mean, I think I'd definitely way rather pay for Hassan at the same price point in cash, but I could definitely see going to Karl Anthony on a kind of lower owned tournament upside play, and then bringing him back with Kemba and or Batum on the same roster. So not really looking to target any of the Minnesota guys in cash, but it's going to be Wiggins or Karl Anthony Towns. I can see taking a stab at Levine just because he's always carrying a really nice ceiling because he's such a good player, but probably not going to be doing it tonight on this slate. Next game to take a look at is going to be the Boston Celtics traveling to take on the 76ers. Celtics are 9.5 point favorites, totals 208. Kind of off this game in general. We know where the usage normally lies with Boston. It's going to be Isaiah Thomas. I hate playing Isaiah Thomas. He is just a terrible basketball player in real life. I know that he can give you fantasy relevant games, and you can't get a much better matchup than this one. He's only 7.6K on DraftKings. So I think he's a reasonable target. I'd probably rather just play Kemba at the same price point or come down to Dragic because I think there's some very serious blowout risk here. Philadelphia is not very good when Joel Embiid does not play, and he's not playing tonight. So I think that this could be a 3-quarter game for most of the Boston guys, but again, never a good idea to project blowouts in the NBA. So Isaiah Thomas is probably the most attractive Boston target. Al Horford would be the next. He's only 6.5K on DraftKings. His usage has kind of hovered around 18 to about 25 on the year. Jahlil Okafor has kind of not been the crazy defensive sieve that he was last year, this year. But I'm not really concerned about that when targeting Al Horford. I think he's got a really nice floor, probably 30 to 35 DraftKings point floor here, even if there is a blowout. And if it would stay close, he's got a monster ceiling. So I definitely think you at least need ownership in tournaments because of that crazy ceiling. But I'm not sure if I can do it in cash. I wouldn't talk you off of him, though. I think he's probably a pretty strong floor target. Avery Bradley and Jay Crowder. It's just, I mean, they both should have gotten over in the last matchup against Sacramento, but Isaiah Thomas took all the shots, didn't make any of them because he sucks at basketball. I think they're both reasonable targets, but I'm probably going to go elsewhere tonight for stronger point per dollar plays. I'm not playing Kelly Olynyk. If you want to play Kelly Olynyk, you're on your own there. I think he is also terrible at basketball, but can also get, I mean, he can get over in this matchup. I'm just not going to do it. Other side of the ball for Philadelphia, Jahlil Okafor probably projects as the highest usage guy without Joel Embiid there. He's kind of expensive on DraftKings. On FanDuel is only 4.4K, so I definitely think he's a stronger target on FanDuel and DraftKings. I could see going to him on DK, but I don't think I'm going to do it. We always know that Rashawn Holmes is an interesting target if you need to save salary when Joel Embiid does not play. I think you could see 20 to 24 minutes here and maybe give you a DK point per minute. So he could get you to 6x. Probably not a guy I'm going to play in tournaments. I'll let other people go there. I don't think he has the kind of 30 to 35 DraftKings point ceiling that you're looking for when targeting guys in tournaments. There's definitely I haven't heard whether or not Jared Bayless is actually going to play in this game. If he does, I'm definitely not targeting him or Sergio. If he'd be out, Sergio's a reasonable target. I probably still won't go there. And then the other three guys to kind of take a look at, Robert Covington should be out in this game as well. So I think that Hollis Thompson could kind of come out of nowhere and give you a little bit of a ceiling game. I mean, we've seen him hit like 8 out of 10 3-pointers before. Wouldn't be the craziest thing that ever happened. Definitely not a cash target. Nick Stauskas and Ursan Ilyasova, also worth mentioning. Probably not going to play either of them. I think there's just better plays at their price points on the slate. Moving on to the next game, it's going to be the Los Angeles Lakers traveling to the Memphis Grizzlies. Grizzlies are 2.5-point favorites. Totals of 200. Definitely want to get in some Grizzly guys in this matchup. We know the Lakers are a team to target. Memphis just kind of came off a pretty tough spot actually against Orlando. Again, didn't kind of see this coming in the beginning of the season, but Orlando is a good defensive team. So I think we can project a lot more offensive efficiency and more pace for Memphis guys in this spot. Lakers play at a 1.8 pace. Memphis is only 95.21 on the season, so I think they can a couple extra possessions here. Only see some increased offensive efficiency. They're only not season, but the Lakers are giving up 108 points per 100 possessions. So I definitely think there's some value here because all the same guys are going to be out for Memphis. We saw Marc Gasol's usage trend back up from 19 2 games ago, went back up to 28.4 in the last game. So I'm going to call percent usage rate an aberration. He should stay in the upper 20s, kind of to be his usage rate pretty much any game moving forward. He's definitely their offensive focal piece. Hates rebounding, never, but I mean, you can't get them for more than like 4 or 5 rebounds on a given night, which is crazy. I think he could maybe see 5 to 6 rebounds here, score 26 to 30 points. I don't know if he's going to block 5 shots again, but I think he's a strong cash or tournament target. Andrew Harrison is a guy I really want to target. Only saw a 19.3% usage rate in the last matchup, but again, I mean, it's just in general a much better matchup for the Memphis offense, and he is the kind of ball dominant guy here. Wouldn't be surprised to see him in the 30 to 35 minute range again with a 20-ish usage rate. At only 5.2K on DraftKings, I definitely think he is a strong cash and/or tournament target. Might go elsewhere in tournaments just because I don't know that he's going to give you 40 DraftKings points. But I think he's definitely at least a strong cash target. JaMychal Green is worth mentioning, but at 5.1K on DraftKings, his price is kind of getting up there. He's been having trouble staying on the court with fouls. If he manages to give you 35 minutes, I think he can give you a strong game. But I'm probably going to go elsewhere on the slate because I don't like the kind of minutes in floor that he's giving you, and he's always a risk to have an 11% usage rate. So I think there's probably stronger plays, but I could see him getting over if you want to use him in a game stack. Troy Daniels is probably the last guy I would want to target from Memphis. He's playing, kind of mid-20s-ish minutes. Doesn't do a whole lot else but score, but he's scoring really efficiently. He's kind of posting a true shooting percentage in the high 70s, 80s. I would normally be hesitant to target a guy like that, but again, we got to project Memphis for a couple extra shots and high efficiency targeting the Lakers, so I think he could definitely kind of keep that going. Only 3.4K on DraftKings. Think he's a reasonable punt if you need to save the salary. So I'm looking at Gasol, Andrew Harrison, and maybe JaMychal Green or Troy Daniels on the Memphis side. To bring it back with the Lakers, I had Julius Randle last night. Didn't turn out like I had hoped, but I'm willing to go back to him again tonight, assuming that the Lakers don't get blown out. I think he gets up to his 30 to 32 minutes. I think he's a really strong candidate for a double-double. I just mentioned that Gasol doesn't love rebounding. JaMychal Green kind of doesn't match the physicality of Julius Randle. I think Randle can give you, if he plays his 30 minutes, his 32 minutes, they can give you like a 16, 12, 6 assists, a block, and a steal kind of line, which is really going to get it done. And I doubt people will go back to him after the poor game last night. So I definitely think he's at least a strong tournament target. I think there's maybe better plays in cash, but I could see doing it. Brandon Ingram, the next guy to look at. Memphis has kind of been a target here. They haven't been great efficiency-wise without all their guys in the lineup. So I think the Lakers could get over, could post offensive efficiency, some reasonable offensive efficiency at least. Brandon Ingram is a guy, especially on FanDuel where he's super cheap, I think is a legitimate cash and or tournament target because I think he can get to 30, 35 points in this matchup because he's probably going to play 35 to 40 minutes. And if you're going to post, a point per minute in a more reasonable spot for offensive efficiency here against Memphis, I think he could get you there. Love his talent. There's a lot of things going in Brandon Ingram's direction tonight. Not sure I'll go there on DraftKings because again, I think there's maybe stronger targets that we'll get to later, but definitely in play. And then Clarkson and Lou Williams are the last two guys to talk about with the Lakers. Tough to trust in cash, especially on DraftKings. The prices are really high. Clarkson's 5.9 and Lou Williams is 5.7. That's kind of high for these guys, so they're more tournament targets there for me. Still pretty cheap on FanDuel. And I think Larry Nance is quite. The game doesn't tip till 8. I'm not sure we'll get caution one way or another. Let's see anything on it just yet. Okay, so Jay playing. I could see doing it. It's an awesome matchup. If they would keep it close, Sergio could definitely pay off the price tag of 4.9K. Just not really a ceiling there though. Definitely not going to use him in tournaments, but he fit into your cash game. Nobody else from the Lakers or Brandon Ingram are definitely my two. To take a look at. I think this one Total's only 200. I think this total could go over pretty easily, actually. We saw Utah played a really slow pace. I mean, they're a slow-paced team, 93 possessions per 100 minutes against Miami last game. Miami's also a slow-paced team. Denver's a really fast-paced team, 1-0 possessions per 48 minutes. Utah should pace up a little bit here in this game. Denver has defensively, specifically Yusuf Nurkic. He is awful. He's basically a stat. They get him involved in the pick and roll. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Gobert kind of bounce back here. I think Hood is probably, he went through 25.4 usage rate with Hood in the lineup, but Hill and Favors out. And there's always aggravation with a hamstring injury. So Hayward, I think, projected 25 to 30% usage. Gets a really, really nice, possibly pace up. Still only 7.7K on Draftkings. He's giving you a really nice buy, 35. Wouldn't be surprised to see George Hill. George Hill is a deal. The only problem is Denver kind of sucks right now. Definitely a strong target. Not going there if you think that Utah is out, but I don't. It should stay reasonably close for. So I think Hayward's a really strong cash target. I could see Gobert bouncing back. I think he's a really strong target. I think he's only 6.5K on DraftKings. Let me confirm that. 6.3K on DraftKings. So yeah, that's a really good price point for him. This is a much better matchup than it was against Hassan Whiteside in the last game. If he's going to see 35 to 38 minutes, definitely think he could give you over a point per minute and be in cash or tournaments. Hayward and Gobert, definitely my two favorite plays from Utah. Hood coming back kind of a little bit with all their other wing guys. Not really looking to play Hood. If Hood would be ruled out, I mean, I'd like Joe Johnson a lot. Again, I think Joe Johnson ball here is kind of who I'm looking to target in that price range. It's just bad enough without Hill to allow Denver project Denver to stay in the game. Somebody's going to have to perform at right now. Barton's only 4.3K, and he is shooting guard and small forward eligible. So he's super valuable for those reasons. Usage rate wasn't crazy. Don't know that project him to be any more efficient in this tonight, but even if you post the same thing at 34.75 DraftKings points, which is good for what, like 8x. Probably a guy I'm going to look to roster to save some salary in my cash games. And like I said, I think he's probably a better play than guys in the similar price. Definitely a better play than Wayne Ellington for the Heat. He could get you there on both sides, seeing an insane kind of like 28 to 30% usage off the bench. Wouldn't be surprised to see that happen again. And if they're close, I think Denver is going to do it on the backs of Wilson Chandler and Will Barton to 28 minutes because he's just so cheap. A game stack here, I think he's a guy that you could include. I should probably rather go for a guy like Tosh Gibson, but interesting tournament target. Just too spread out with the usage with Will Barton back small forward, but I think Barton's a really good stack the game up and then bring it back with Hayward to go Bears. 3.5 point favorites. Chicago should definitely win this game, and I think Dallas can kind of keep it close. Dallas, a reasonable defensive team, 104.2. I mean, it's not 30% usage rate without Dwayne Wade in the lineup. Should be at least 30% tonight. Should probably minutes, even if it's a back-to-back. I mean, the guy is a machine. Only 8.4K on Draftkings. Really strong play there. A guy I'm definitely looking to get on my rosters. I think the next two guys, you want 3% usage rate without Wade. Rajon Rondo's revenge game for Rajon Rondo. Obviously had that this really tumultuous stint with the Mavericks a couple of years ago, and they have not been kind to him. And so I'm sure he wants to come back, kind of stick it to him in this game. Last night, wouldn't be too surprised. Matchup, not too scared about Darren Williams. Think he can get over pretty easily. 6K on DraftKings is a little higher. Goran Dragic in the same. I think Rajon Rondo's a lock over there. Taj Gibson, both strong cash and or 20. Kind of project one game to play mid-30s, have reasonable. Lopez, a little too thin. He never know what Dallas is going to do. Three pretty easily, but I mean, he could play at the 5, roll it off the floor. Not to him, Nikola Mirotic, not a guy I ever really like to play, but usage without Wade on the floor. Should take a lot of shots with the second unit if he doesn't start. Reasonable tournament target, would never play him in cash. On the other side, Darren Williams is really cheap with 4.6K on DraftKings, 24.6% usage, so he's kind of hovering around the mid-20s in usage. I'm not too scared about targeting Rondo on the other end. He played 30 minutes last game. There's a lot of things working in his favor, but I'll just never play Darren Williams. He's a threat to roll an ankle or strain a muscle every time he takes the floor, so I don't need that kind of floor in my life. I could see playing him in a game stack just in case he goes off, and then bringing it back with buckets, Rondo and or Taj on the other side, but I'm just not really looking at any of these guys. Harrison Barnes gonna play mid to upper 30s minutes, gonna have mid-20s usage rate, just better plays on the slate. Jonathan Gibson's actually kind of interesting for the Mavericks. Saw 27 minutes and a 30% usage rate off the bench. Would expect that to continue because Seth Curry is not playing in this game. So Gibson is a reasonable punt at 3.5K. He might be a better punt than Troy Daniels. He's definitely worth mentioning. Definitely not a cash target. I'm never going to play Wes Matthews. You can play Wes Matthews. Do it. The Atlanta and Toronto game real quick. Kind of maybe a Freudian slip. Didn't cover it because Schroeder, if you followed along, you know that I hate him. He's terrible. The second half saved his stat monster garbage time performance. If you go in there in cash games on this slate, his ceiling right now is kind of 6x value. So I don't need to be playing him. He's terrible. Play somebody. I think they're just a really, really bad basketball team without Millsap in the lineup. Millsap is so competitive at all. It's targeted all their guys last night against the Lakers because I thought the Lakers would compete. Lakers got blown out. Wouldn't be surprised to see Atlanta be blown out here. For the sake of not projecting blowouts, I think it's Lowry, it's DeRozan. Tamar Carroll is going to be back in this game. He eats into their usage. I just don't want to target anybody from this game. I think there's more profitable spots up and down the slate than anybody in the Atlanta-Toronto game. So that will do it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and best of luck with all of your games tonight.